Who am I? My name is Tristan, and yes, I'm Namibian born and bred. Love this country, love the land, love the people and everything that breathes and moves around Namibia. So yeah, I think in the big picture I'm kind of in the perfect place. So Okonjima is my home, and yeah, part of the bigger or the greater Okonjima family. I've been here now for 28 years, and yeah, helped build up the tourism side of things, and always dabbled in all the conservation and the nature side of things. So I think, you know, Okonjima as an experience is slightly different to others. I think everybody is unique and everybody does something that is special and unique to them. But for us is we have a big element of conservation as part of a information, and you can call it education if you want to our clients, because I think the challenges that animals have to deal with in Namibia are not very different from challenges that animals, you know, deal with in other countries. So there's a lot of parallels in what we do. So I think if our clients that visit from all over the world come to us, we touch on everything. So when clients are here, the information that we share through the guides, through the project, through the information is information that they might have heard from before. So it's kind of in the back of their heads, and we just bring it to the foreground, but from an African perspective, from a Namibian perspective. And that's why the conservation and the research and the education and all of those kind of things are what we want to share with people. So it's also not always just all the pretty stuff, but also the things that are maybe a little bit sad, or even to some people shocking, or, you know, but it gives all these perspectives. And I think when people leave us, they have a little bit more insight and a little bit more information that just kind of answers all the hanging questions. And I think if we strive to manage to do that, and maybe not change everybody, but just put thoughts in the back of their heads as to, you know, how to be in nature and how to respect it and all those kind of things, and go home with that kind of mindset, I think people will be more caring towards nature in the big picture. Doesn't matter where they live in the world. We have the AfriCat Foundation, which is a project that started off with the bigger focus on all cat species or cat-related species, then kind of went a little bit broader and included predators in the bigger picture. So hyenas came in and wild dogs came in and things like that. But the focus was always very much cat-orientated. And it was basically a realization of the family, you know, right in the beginning. This used to be a cattle farm, and leopards would kill livestock on this property, and leopards were hunted or shot because they killed the livestock. So the previous generation basically lived as an income from the farming side of things, so from the cattle farming side of things, and basically the replacement of the losses in finances was maybe a few hunts a year, and maybe a leopard was hunted on those hunts. And when the kids took over the property from the parents, there was a total mind shift from kind of going from cattle farming and hunting to conservation and tourism, and in that order. So The passion was the conservation, was giving back to the animals that basically carried them indirectly, financially. Giving back to those animals, being good to those animals, understanding those animals, sharing that information. And that used to be predators. Predators kill livestock on people's farms, and that touches their income. So if we can help farmers just tolerate them more, respect them more, and the most biggest thing is understand them. Knowledge is power, and once we know and understand animals, we can deal with them better without having to do the drastic measure of, taking them out of their environment or getting rid of them. So that's how this whole project kind of started and grew, and with that came a big welfare organization, in the sense that a lot of people would phone up and say, well, I have a leopard in a box strap, can you collect it? And obviously we collected it, we tried to convince the farmer to release it back because you don't want to take a cat out of its territory, all these kind of things. And it kind of grew from there, where now money was needed, because none of that can happen without money. And how do we get money? What do we do to earn to fund these projects, whether this was on the conservation side and the research side, or whether it was on the welfare side? Predators don't eat carrot salad, so therefore costs were high. And if you take on the responsibility of a welfare project, you need to take on the full responsibility, so it's vet checks and all kinds of things. So everything costs money, and that money needed to come from somewhere. And tourism was kind of what was the easiest way to get to money, because people were prepared to pay to see these animals, to understand the challenges with the animals, to understand what is being done for the animal. And therefore, obviously, as that kind of grew, the need for more information. So research became a bigger part. And now we are in a phase where we are moving away from welfare and really much more focusing on research. And the research angle is obviously the power, because that's the knowledge. That's where we get to know these animals better and know their behavior, their needs, and are able to respect them in that environment. And obviously, a great spin-off is that we see them. And by seeing them, it offers a great viewing. And again, that's also why, for visiting guests, it's a great experience to kind of get the information, but also have a spectacular picture of a leopard in a tree with the sunset. And it's not always like that. Sometimes it's just the tail in the bush, but it's a bit of everything. I think when it comes to the experiences, have a wide variety of activities. Okay, so we cater for pretty much a lot of interests, but all the interests lead back mostly to some sort of caring for a specific species. And now over the years we've become not so species specific. We've kind of widened our how kind of approach and angle. So we've included things like brown hyenas and pangolins and aardvark and bat-eared foxes and caracals and you name it. So there's a lot of things that clients can come and do. So our activities, we almost sell with a little bit of a focus. So if we do a leopard activity, then obviously the leopard is the focus of the activity. That's the animal that we would really like to see, but it doesn't mean that we exclude everything else that we come across. So it's a bigger game drive, a bigger wildlife experience, but with the kind of the burning spot being the leopard. And we do that for rhino, we do that for hyena, we do that for pangolin. So in that sense, a client can stay for 3 nights, for 2 nights, and do a different activity every day. And therefore, the experience is so vast and so big. And then at the end of the day, I think they leave having had a fuller experience with better information. So rhino tracking is interesting because it takes you out of that protected vehicle. In a vehicle you feel safe, you feel like you're elevated, you're with other people, you have a little bit of metal, you kind of can, hide behind something. And when you do rhino tracking, you step out of that because you're off the vehicle and you're on foot. Obviously we can't do it with black rhinos, but you can track white rhinos on foot. They are relatively placid, and if respected, from a distance, it is a safe activity. So we get off the vehicle and we would move towards the animal and then spend time at a safe distance from the animal with the animal in almost a silent period. And this can be anything from 10 minutes to 45 minutes, where it's literally about being with the animal and just observing. And we can have a question and answer session afterwards when we're back at the vehicle or walking back. But that experience is about just listening, picking up when the rhino turns its ear. What is it listening to? What is that sound? Where is it coming from? Is it a bird? Is it another animal? Is it a wildebeest snorting? What is it, So it's those kind of things we want people to experience. And I want people to see that when a rhino is, kind of grazing away, that how the nostrils and the breath actually whirl up some dust, and things like that. It's those finer things that make an on-foot activity, kind of special. And on foot in the African bush, it's different. All our bushes and trees have, thorns and sharp ends and hooks and hold you back, and suddenly your hat gets pulled off, or, so it's that kind of thing. And you never know who you're going to bump into, on foot. So there's a little bit of goosebumps and a little bit of adrenaline, but the experience to share that kind of closeness on foot with such an incredible animal as a white rhino is super special. Sadly, yes. So, yes, poaching, there's predominantly two types of poaching. There's the poaching for somebody that wants to survive in the sense of, I need food, so it's meat poaching, or I need to poach for meat, to sell meat, to have money to send my kids to school or to buy a pair of shoes or whatever. So there's that kind of poaching. So that's more kind of antelope poaching or even livestock poaching. Whereas you have poaching in the sense of there is an element of that animal that has a greater international value, and that comes in with things like pangolin and rhino and elephant and those kind of things. So sadly, yes, on private land, and that makes a big issue, a big problem for that species, because it's not just the species that's expensive to keep, because rhinos, they're big animals, they eat a lot, so you need a big piece of land to have them, and you need the vegetation to carry that kind of thing. But now suddenly you need to employ somebody to look after the animal, and that's not just one person, because that one person needs holiday time and off time. So it's two people or even three people in one position. And they need to be kitted, so they need to have a vehicle, they need to have a type of uniform, and they might even have to carry a weapon to do the anti-poaching or to be part of that anti-poaching group. And so a lot of private game reserves actually make a decision as to not have a species that needs that kind of protection, which is a problem. So because then it becomes even less land for these animals to have, because the cost of having a rhino and looking after the rhino and to secure its safety is extremely high. And sadly, yes, and those animals do happen to sometimes still get poached, and that stock loss or that animal loss is tragic, because you almost have a relationship with that rhino, so it's sad, but it does happen. It's a huge community. I mean, it really is, and it's a little bit of a big brother kind of house experience. Everybody knows everything about everybody else, so everybody's in everybody's business. But we have to have that community, because I mean, the closest town to us is about 70 kilometers away, and there's no ways that I can shuttle staff to and fro. So everybody lives here on the property, even though the closest ones would live in the local town in the area. But the majority of our people come from right up north, above the Etosha, and they are sometimes 900 kilometers away from their houses. So there is no ways that they can just quickly zip home, quickly go and see the kids, whatever. So you have to provide a home here for the people, and a lot of people have their families here, and so we would employ a mother and a father, a couple as such. And then what about the children? So the children would go to local schools in the area, close by towns and things like that. Pre-COVID, we used to have a school here on the property for 60 kids, which is something that maybe we'll consider kind of putting into place again, but at the moment, after COVID, everything that cost money was kind of stopped and shelved, so that the protection was about the land and the survival for us and for the people that lived here. So yes, staffing is not an easy thing, and I think my colleague Roger also mentioned that. So if we have good staff, and we really do, you want to hold on to them, and you want to make it as comfortable for them as you can, and if they feel loved and respected, then they give great service in that sense, and you can rely, and it works. So yeah, staffing is an interesting part of the chapter. We live on our radios, so pretty much everybody that's in kind of a managerial or a position of having to look after something has a radio. So there is constant talk on this radio, so it's crazy. It's a busy kind of environment. In front with the clients and with the tourists, we have this calm. It's everybody smiles, everybody's calm, and then you go through the back door and it's chaos. It's like everybody needs to check that everything is running, and the radio goes crazy. But yeah, it's part of the bigger picture. We have so many return clients, so many. I mean, literally weekly. It's crazy. Our people have visited Namibia not just once, not just twice, not just 3 times, but 10 times or even 20 times. I mean, we've got guests that come back every year, more or less the same time, and every time you can just see how their faces light up, and when they talk, it's almost like it's their first experience. So I think Namibia offers just this total surprise of environment, in the sense that it is hugely diverse. So, you can go from a real sand dune desert, very, very sandy, very hot, to, the northern part of the country where it's rivers merging, big floodplains and elephants and green and enormous trees and, foliage totally different. So it is so diverse. And in between, there's just these crazy open spaces, these spaces that just fill your soul with like peace and just like make you smile and feel in awe of being part of this kind of almost nothingness. And in other areas it's like stepping into a painting, because the landscape is just so incredibly beautiful and goes from super harsh in the daylight, like it's just rocky and gravelly and stony and hard, and the plants all look like they've gone through massive droughts and are all kind of wrinkly and knobbly and things. And then the afternoon sunlight comes and bathes everything in this beautiful peachy color, and it goes from peachy to kind of mauve and purple and pink and blue, and it's like living in a painting. So I think the diversity of the country is what makes it such an incredible experience for people, and it touches here for everybody. So in that sense, I think that's the biggest thing. And the people are friendly, humble, willing, helpful. Yeah, and you can drink the water. And the roads are good. And there's, everything that you kind of need. The shops are along the way, and fuel stations, and it's easy to navigate, and it's well signed, and so it makes the experience in the bigger picture just uncomplicatedly easy with this incredible landscape. Namibia is really a safe country. I mean, yes, we have little issues, and yes, there's petty crime, and yes, things happen, but it's minute and it's dealt with, and it's taken seriously. So in that sense, I think we're doing a great job to making visitors in Namibia feel like they are safe and they are, looked after and cared for. So I think it's always, I am lucky that I've been able to travel quite a bit, and I've been to many places and countries, and, safety is always a thing that you also need to take the responsibility on yourself. You have to be aware of your environment. That kind of saying of being streetwise. In Namibia, you have to be a little bit bushwise, So you have to be just kind of understand the lay of the land, and think a little bit before you go into certain areas or whatever, So in that sense, it lies with us, and as the traveler, and but in the big picture, it's an amazing country to travel, and to have that kind of freedom, on the road, and is fantastic. I think it's very important that people realize that Namibia is a huge country, and it's very important that people realize that when you travel in Namibia, that the distances between destinations can be a 4-hour drive. So as long as people keep that in mind and don't feel that they want to rush through the country, this country can be done over 4 visits or even over 2 visits, And I think to extend a stay somewhere is very important. I would never ever do a one-night stay anywhere, because you will be just sitting in the vehicle all the time, and you will arrive and you'll rush to an activity, you'll come back, you'll have dinner, you'll be tired, and you'll be rushing off the next day to make your next destination. That's not worth it. take the time, enjoy the destinations, enjoy what people have to offer, enjoy the people there, enjoy the nature and the animals there, and feel like you're on holiday and, take it in more seriously. So it's definitely a destination with multiple options of revisiting or dividing the country into sections of visiting time. So I think for people to know and understand that is very important. And it means a lot to us that people love our place, that love Okonjima, love AfriCat, love what we do. And that goes for all the partners, in the Naturally Namibia group as well. And it goes for even the non-partners, every lodge and guest farm and guest house that's out there, where you meet a host or somebody that works or lives there or owns the place, has a story to tell, and has something to offer and give, and so it is a special trip, but you need to have the time to harness it, to experience it and to feel it. And if you're rushed from point A to point B, you're gonna miss it.
100%.
It's not Mallorca. It's not a one spot destination. Namibia is a big country, and it offers an immense amount of things to see, and so time is definitely something that you would need. I hope that people have a home that they feel happy to go back to, but when they come, and that's how we want people to feel, and when they leave, they need to be a little bit sad. It's always nice to go home. It is, but this is a country that kind of, tugs at the heartstrings, and that's cool if people go home. It's the clients last night telling me that, the 3 drops of rain. It's like the country is crying to see them leave, and in their hearts they were crying to leave the country. So it's cool when people, feel those emotions. That is, and in fact, that is the thing is, Namibia is an emotional country, because you feel it not just here, you feel it here. You feel that goosebumps, you feel those kinds, you feel happy and sad, and but not sad in a bad way, sad in a way of, I get it, I understand it, I feel it, I taste it, I smell it. It's that kind of sad that makes it special. Yeah. The diversity of possibilities to stay in Namibia are, huge. So whether you want to come and camp and do it on a shoestring, it's possible, because the campsites are cool, they're really nice, and you mostly have hot water showers, and there's always firewood, and you've got a flushing toilet and those kind of things. So it's so easy to rent a vehicle at the airport and have it ready there for you, kitted for your camping trip, and it has everything from a knife and fork to a toilet roll to a spade if you should get stuck. It's all there and set up ready, and you've got a rooftop tent with beautiful linen, and you'll have a fantastic sleep. So the shoestring traveler can easily travel this country by themselves. And then there's an array of luxury possibilities that you can stay at. So for instance, here at Okonjima, we have got camping sites, but we also have the Plains Camp, and the Plains Camp is more kind of our entry-level lodge. So for the guy that's traveling on a bit of a budget, or for the family that travels together and they are 4 people and need to look at the budget, it's something that they can afford. It's something that they can do. They can stay for a family of 4, and it's affordable. And then we do obviously the luxury lodge, which is the bush camp, and then we even have a higher step of that, which is the high-end lodges, which is our villa and our suite. So we try to cater for all the kind of budget groups that there are, but at the same time also luxury levels. So somebody that wants to do a little bit more of fooding experience, or a little bit more of a privacy thing where it's about, I'm not one of, 30 people, but I'm one of 15 people in a lodge. I get a little bit more personal attention. I have an own guide and a vehicle or something like that. So all those kind of things are optional, and the traveler can decide what works for him, what fits best for him budget-wise, and it's just easy to travel and to book. You know, a lot of lodges in Namibia do that, where they first have the possibility of, you know, choosing accommodation that fits the budget, and then also the rooms being designed in a way where it hosts either the family or the couple or even the single traveler, you know, so that everybody feels comfortable within that environment and you know, feels happy in his or her space as such. So yeah, all our lodges, all our rooms always have 2 beds. So a big part of our clientele is German, and we've learned, you know, they want their own pillow and their own duvet and their own blanket, and we said, okay, well then we give them their own mattress as well. So in that sense it works. Yeah. Cool. What else? Food? Should we talk about food? Maybe just mention a short clip on food. Food is interesting in Namibia. We don't have a huge local cuisine that would appeal to every traveler. So local food is, or tends to be, for European taste buds, kind of a bit bland maybe, and maybe a bit grey, in the sense of not much frying, but rather boiling or cooking over a fire, you know, not spiced and herby and things like that. So you wouldn't really find a big variety of local food, although there are places that really specialize in it and have upped it a little bit, so it's really cool to go to, but you need to find those places to go to. I think generally in Namibia, food-wise, that you would find in lodges are at a high standard of a blend of a little bit of something from Namibia, like game. So in lots of lodges you would find game meat on the menu, or local fish from our coastline on the menu, and then of course what's available, because a lot of the lodges are very far apart and very far from the next shop around the corner. So it's not just like if you run out of lettuce that you could just run down to the corner shop and buy a bag of lettuce. It doesn't work that way. So if you don't have lettuce, well then we eat cabbage, you know, or something that lasts longer. So one needs to consider the environment that you are in with the food that you are getting. But believe me that people make a huge effort in presenting food that's really good and also caters for, you know, everybody's taste in a way, but also everybody's dietary requirement, you know, whether it's gluten-free or, and I remember, you know, many years ago when my sister lived in London for a few years and came back vegetarian, and my father almost had a heart attack and said, you know, how are you going to survive? And, you know, it was like, but now we've come a long way and we cater for, you know, vegetarians happily and vegan and you name it, it's all possible. So food-wise, so your plate of food that you get served will mostly consist, or the meal will mostly consist out of a starter, main course and a dessert, and really tasty. And lunch times are usually lighter meals, so you would go more into salads and burgers and, you know, kind of a lighter lunch kind of cuisine. And breakfasts are amazing. I mean, breakfast best, because they're usually bigger and they're usually brunch and not breakfast, so you end up, you know, spending quite a bit of time having breakfast in the mornings before departing onto the next space. Obviously, the internet and social media and what's out there on information is, you know, most people kind of have a look or dabble at least in some sort of online portal to see whether they want to go somewhere. And but there is a lot of knowledge and wisdom out through travel agents and agents that promote Namibia as a destination. So it's always a safe call, because you'll have an itinerary that works out really well by going through a travel agent to book it. You book it in your country, who deals with the travel agent in Namibia, who then sets everything up for you, and it's just like peace of mind. I've got my itinerary, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going. Or you do the adventurous way and you book it yourself, and it's all possible and it's all available to do. So payment systems work, and online systems work, and so in that sense, it shouldn't be an issue to make a booking and to be advised. So if you feel that maybe a place is too far and you need something between two destinations, is chat to somebody, or go onto the website and have a look, what are the possibilities. Very often lodges kind of either are part of a circuit, or have a partner lodge, or have a great relationship with a neighbor or somebody, and they would suggest, while if you are between the south of Namibia, say Sossusvlei and Swakopmund, why don't you pop into this lodge for one night stay and break the distance of driving and things like that. So it's all doable, and actually kind of easy to do. Yeah, you're so welcome. We're looking forward to hosting and having you.